Good afternoon, troublers. Welcome, welcome, welcome to April's monthly meeting of Necessary Trouble. At this time, I would like to ask everyone to mute themselves. And while you're doing that, if you are new uh, and here for the first time, we ask that you please put your name and contact information in the chat. Now, this is so we can follow up and get your feedback about today's program and to see if you would like to join the little engine that could, necessary trouble. So, in the words of John Lewis, when we see something that's not right and that's not fair and not just, we speak up. We have a great meeting today. And so now, without any further ado, and I apologize for being that 2 minutes late, I'm going to ask Becky Butler if she will review the agenda for us. Becky, it's yours.
Thank you, PJ. It's lovely to see everybody always. It feels like it's always a kind of it's good for my heart, I know. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I'm going to talk a little bit first about a little bit of the context around us right now. And one of the most critical pieces of what the context is right now is it hasn't been very long since the General Assembly finished its work. The last day of the General Assembly, which is known as Sine Die, was March 29th. And I'm going to do, we could certainly have a full meeting or several going over a lot of the bills that passed or that didn't pass. And I'm going to do a very brief summary of some of the highs and the lows from that. So let me start with some of the really significant lows. The HB 140, which was related to healthcare or absence of healthcare for transgender youth, unfortunately passed. What that means is that healthcare providers are banned from performing gender-affirming surgery and hormone replacement for minors. There were some incredibly compelling testimony given, particularly by parents and some grandparents. We have parents and grandparents in this group who both testified and really advocated on this. And as we heard several times, what this passage of this bill means is that there are going to be a lot of kids in Georgia who are going to do damage to themselves because of this bill. So lots of heartbreak around that. Another very significant loss, and we will hear much more about this at this meeting, is the prosecutorial oversight board also passed. And what this does is creates an oversight board for Georgia's DAs and solicitors general, includes the power to discipline or remove. No accident that this follows when some of the most progressive work has been going on, and no accident that this follows after particularly women of color were elected in the last couple of years as DAs and solicitors general in Georgia. Another significant loss was the elections grants bill, which means that local election offices can no longer accept any money at the risk of felony, by the way, to cover the cost of running elections from any source other than state or federal government. And this means that some of our elections boards, which had huge need for additional funding, among those DeKalb Dems, DeKalb, can no longer accept nonprofit money. This is going to be very difficult for lots of the local election boards. And, of course, no Medicaid expansion this year. No expansion. This, by the way, Georgia is one of only 10 states that doesn't have full Medicaid expansion. no expansion in mental health services. Mary Margaret Oliver had a really comprehensive bill that unfortunately did not pass. We now have cash bail for certain traffic offenses, which also always has higher targeting of BIPOC folks, which is really troubling. And no Okefenokee Protection Act was passed this year. Budget was a mixed bag. There were some wins. There was a raise for teachers and other state employees. The Hope Scholarship is funded at 100% tuition, which is great. Additional investment in public schools, and also 6 million allocated for meals in schools for qualifying children. We will hear more about this because really the inclusion of that in the budget is due to our own Imani Barnes's work, and we're really grateful to her extraordinary work as a freshman, and we'll hear more about that. There were also some big losses. Higher education got really slashed, 67 million. Unemployment insurance funding was slashed. And the Georgia Public Broadcasting lost 10% of their funding. So also really troubling. We had a huge win. The Democrats had a huge win, which has gotten lots of national attention, which is the school voucher bill, which would have just drained money from public schools, was defeated. And some of that was we had some of the rural Republicans who crossed over and voted against it. Democrats all voted in a block except for one. But it was a tremendous, tremendous victory that got lots of coverage, and we're so proud of our Dems for defeating that bill. So that's the context in which we're meeting today, and that's the context which really shapes our agenda for today. And our agenda, we are going to be hearing from two of the seat holders both of whom Necessary Trouble has worked very hard to elect and support, and we are building a long history now with both of them. The first is Deborah Gonzalez, who Necessary Trouble has been with now for 3 cycles. Incredibly progressive DA, so grateful to her, DA for Athens, Clarke, and Oconee counties. And then we'll be hearing from Representative Imani Barnes about her first session as a freshman legislator. And then we will be having Troubler updates. And on that note, PJ, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Becky. That good and bad, like you said, good meat, bad meat. Okay, but I'm so glad about the school thing. You know, I'm over the moon on that one. Okay. At this time, I would like to ask Robin. Hey, Robin, how you doing?
Good, PJ. How about you?
Doing good. I would like. Would you please introduce our first speaker? And noting that the question and answer will follow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Take it away.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. Okay, so it is my honor to introduce District Attorney Deborah Gonzalez. You know, just sitting and listening to this legislative review, it makes me want to cry. And that means it's all that much more important to celebrate our victories. And Deborah's being in office is absolutely a victory. Deborah is a lawyer of over 20 years. She served in the Georgia House of Representatives representing Athens. And then in 2020, she was elected to be the district attorney for the Western Judicial Circuit, which is Oconee and Athens Clarke counties. She is the most progressive DA in the state. For that reason, she has drawn lots of attention in a very negative way from Republicans in the state. But nonetheless, she is doing the work that she was elected to do. She is committed to revising the criminal justice system in a number of ways. First and foremost, she is looking at disparities of the system for Black, brown, and poor people as defendants and as victims, and addressing that. She has been a staunch supporter of the victims of sexual abuse and trafficking. She is also a staunch supporter of when defendants come before her, looking at how is justice served? Is justice served and public safety served by by prosecuting this person, or is there a better alternative? She is working to eliminate the school to prison pipeline. She has said she will not prosecute under Georgia's anti-abortion bill. I'm looking at this. She will not prosecute for marijuana possession, eliminating cash bail for nonviolent, small crimes. Deborah's election to DA made history. She is the first Latina DA in Georgia and the first female Puerto Rican DA in the United States of America. Let's see. So one of the bills that she's going to talk about today is an attempt by Republicans to curtail the work of progressive prosecutors. They have set up a committee that will oversee the work of DAs. Any kind of criminal, whether it's police or DAs, are going to look at what they're going to prosecute and what they're not. When people get elected to office, their constituents are telling them what their priorities are. And yet we have the Republican legislature that wants to take over that and put their wishes before those of the electors, and really, in a sense, bully district attorneys to prosecute in a way that conservatives, Republicans want prosecution to occur, and try to curtail the progressive overhauling of the criminal justice system. So I am really very proud to have DA Gonzalez in office and pursuing her passion and making a difference in countless lives. Defendants, victims, also the community. Some of us supported a project that she was doing with kids who painted chairs about what criminal justice means to them. And so reaching out to touch people beyond those who end up in her office. Thank you, Deborah, for all of your hard work. And it's my pleasure to turn this over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the support that I've gotten for this from this group for now 5 years. It's hard to believe that it's been that long, but thank you for sticking with me and with the vision of what a politician can be in terms of a positive influence in the community. And, those chairs that many of you supported, we were able to give over $1,000 to 4 different schools. One of them that won the DA prize is it's called Our Resilient Community. It is a school for LGBTQ and trans children, and the first school of its kind in Georgia, and they won the DA award for their chair. I can tell you those chairs, 12 of them are on display in our courthouse and have been on display since October. And they are right there in front in the courthouse, in front of our offices, and people will stop and ask questions about them. And it's just a wonderful tool to talk about justice and what the community wants, and also what youth see as what justice is. So we have plans of building like a reflective exercise with our chairs and then lending them out to some of the schools who have asked for them. Our library has asked for them to be on display. And so we hope that these will be able to be ambassadors of the youth's voice in what justice is. And so thank you all for being part of that. But as ironic as it is, that project is one of the reasons why I am targeted right now. So it seems I keep coming back to you, and I'm in the middle of a campaign and in the middle of a lawsuit. And here I am, I find myself in that same place again. Many of you may have heard that there has been a writ of mandamus filed against me, claiming that I am not doing my job, when in reality, what it is they don't like the way that I'm doing my job, because it is different from the way every other DA has done this job in this circuit. And so, you know, what I tell my community, I was yesterday at an event with Representative Houston Gaines, who was there promoting this law, which has still not been signed by the governor. By the way, it's passed both houses, but it has not been signed by the governor. And him talking about the need for this, and the community rising up and saying, no, this is our vote. This is the person we elected. And that is, again, what is at the core of SB 92 and why it is such a dangerous bill. Because what it does is it gives 8 individuals who are appointed by the governor, the Speaker of the House, and the lieutenant governor or the head of the Senate. They get to appoint those 8 individuals who can then make a decision and remove a duly elected DA or Solicitor General without the input of the community that elected them. And so it's just another way that they are looking at silencing the voices of the people of the community and really making their vote just not count. And it was very clear that my community saw that yesterday in the way that they were responding to him. And they also gave me an opportunity to respond to him, because what I reminded them is that they elected me. The legislators did not, right? The community elected me, as they have elected all of their DAs. They elect the DAs based on the values that they have, right? And they wanted a different approach to justice. And that's what the community elected me for. And so what I reminded them yesterday is, if I was not doing the job they elected me to do, the way that they elected me to do it, we wouldn't have this legislation, and we wouldn't have this lawsuit, and they wouldn't be fighting so hard to get me out. Because the truth, when we look at the history of this legislation, it was first proposed in 2021. So in 2020, 6 new women of color were elected as DAs. For the first time, out of 50 DAs in the state of Georgia, 16 were people of color. Before 2020, it was only 6. You can imagine 10 more people of color in that organization really is changing the way that we're looking at justice, the conversations that we're having amongst those 50 DAs from the state about reproductive health care, about trans care. And, you know, one of the things that we as a block of more progressive-minded and reform-minded DAs, you know, when we're in those conversations talking about, are we as a DA Association of Georgia going to support these kinds of crimes? One of the things to remember is that in order for us to get to prosecute any woman or any child or any parent, the police have to arrest them first, right? They have to be arrested first. And it's going to be very interesting, because the feedback I'm getting is that law enforcement does not want to do those arrests. And until those arrests happen, nothing comes into our offices, to the DA offices, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of pressure law enforcement is going to get under in order to bring those cases to us. Now, the other part that makes this legislation so dangerous is that it changes the standard for the discretion for DAs, in terms of now we have to prosecute every case that comes to us with probable cause. But when you go to trial, the burden is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not probable cause. Probable cause is the lowest burden of proof. It is what officers use to arrest people. And many times when I get some cases, I choose not to prosecute them because, one, there's not enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, or two, law enforcement has just made such a jump as to what charges they're making, right? Now what this bill says is if I don't pursue every single one of them, they can remove me. Now imagine for a minute how much resources that is going to waste for us if we cannot have the discretion to say, no, there's just not enough evidence to do that case, or that there is a mistaken identity, or that there are other options here other than straight going to trial. And so when we look at SB 92, know that it's not just this oversight committee, it's also talking about the standards of the use of discretion that a DA or a Solicitor General has. And you know, it's very interesting because before 2020, it was never questioned the discretion that a DA had, right? That was never a problem because they were using that discretion to increase mass incarceration. They were using that discretion that created the school to prison pipeline. Now you have DAs who are coming in and saying, no, we're going to use our discretion for the reverse. We're going to use our discretion to bring in programs like restorative justice. And I'm so proud that we started our program this January in our juvenile courts, and we have our first 2 referrals that accepted. And this is a wonderful alternative to just bringing the kids in and giving them a criminal record. Because yes, they will be held accountable and they will learn some lessons, but they will also learn an incredible mechanism to be able to face difficult challenges when they're out there with others in their community, right? So that's a wonderful thing that has happened and I'm very proud of. The other thing I'm very proud of is our opportunity to work with Senator Jon Ossoff on a federal bill about witness protection program. Georgia does not have a witness protection program. There's one on the federal level, but not on the state level. And the majority of states do not have them because they don't have the funds. And Senator Ossoff is working on a bill to be able to bring funds so that we can do that. And why is this important? Many of you have heard of gang violence that is happening. And one of the issues that we find is that victims and witnesses do not want to testify. They are afraid for their lives. They're afraid for their loved ones. And so having funds and being able to say, I can protect you, will also be able to help us bring individuals into account that need to be held in account, right? So that's one of the other things that we're doing. We're very big on our community outreach. Because we believe that prevention is our best investment, right? To prevent people from getting into the system to begin with. And then on the other end for reentry, yesterday we had our 2nd annual record restriction event. We worked with the Georgia Justice Project and were able to clean up over 50 individuals' criminal histories. And having the Georgia Justice Project as a partner on that has been amazing to be able to do that. But, you know, my predecessor would not do those. And now we have hosted our 2nd one. So we're happy about that. We are also on our way to our 4th resentencing with the Southern Center for Human Rights. And this has allowed us to look at old cases of individuals who were charged, sentenced to life, and be able to have them resentenced to time served and have them released. And so we've done 3 so far, and we have 1 more that we are working on. And again, these are the type of reforms, right, of using of using our discretion to actually have fair and just sentencing in our community. We are the number one in terms of people under community supervision. In fact, the statistic is 1 in 18 Georgians are under some kind of community supervision. Now, that could be probation, a pretrial diversion program, an accountability court, 1 in 18. Are there any legal avenues to block SB 92? Until what we need is for Kemp to veto the bill. Because if he can go by 40 days and just not sign it, and it will automatically become law, right? So he doesn't have to actually sign it for it to become law. He just has to not veto it. So being able to contact his office, letting him know that this is your vote, your voice, this is your decision, and the idea of local control, right? The state should not be going in and interfering with local control in these, in terms of that. There are different organizations who have been putting out press releases and trying to get media and articles in media, talking about, how this is taking away the power of the people. So when you say, what can you do as an advocacy group? Letters to the editors, letters to your senators, letters to media are always good. Talk to people about it. And, you have, I know that you're happy with your representatives and with your senators here, in your particular circuit, but reach out to others as well, and reach out to your representatives who are allies to you so that they can also lend their voice against this. Democrats as a whole, except for one, actually voted against the oversight bill because they recognize that, one, there are many different ways to hold a DA accountable, just like other elected officials. You can recall us, there can be impeachment. All DAs are lawyers, which mean that we fall under the jurisdiction of the State Bar of Georgia. And so somebody can actually write an ethics complaint against us, which is different from judges, because a lot of people have said, well, the judges have a commission. But the truth is, not all judges are lawyers. You might not have known that, but magistrate court judges, the vast majority are not lawyers. And so that's why they needed to create a judicial committee where all the judges would be held accountable, right? Which is different from prosecutors. We're all lawyers, so we're all subject to the state bar ethics rules in that way. You live in Walton. Yes, Gareth, I know. Hi, it's nice to see you. We've had a rally here in Athens, a rally for justice reform. We got a lot of good attention and media. We had people from Savannah and from Athens and from Atlanta here. That was held last week. We'll be doing more of those just to make sure that people understand that it's not about getting rid of the DA. It's actually about removing the votes and the voice of the people, right? So if you remember when I had to sue the governor in order to get my race on the ballot, it was the same question, right? It was the same issue, taking away the rights of people to have their vote counted. And that's exactly what's happening right now with SB 92 in there. And I can tell you, when this started, this session, there were actually 5 bills against DAs, including one where they wanted to change the recall percentage from 30% of registered voters to 2%, but only for DAs. Okay, just 2%. So to give you real numbers, that meant like the 30% would have been that they would have needed over 33,000 votes. 2% would have meant that they've only needed 3,000. And if you think about it, a recall, what that does is once they get the numbers, then you have to have a recall election, which costs more money to the counties, right? And at only 3,000, they could have, done the recall election. I could have won it. And the next month I could have faced another one and another one and another one every single time, anytime that I did something that somebody did not like. So that bill was defeated, though, which is a very good thing. The second thing they tried to do was to make DA elections nonpartisan. And that was because they felt if it was nonpartisan, again, people would not vote for me, right? They would vote for an independent. But if you remember my election, there was an independent that I won against. But it would also have meant that my election would have been in May and not in November. So cutting down the amount of time we would have to campaign and to raise funds and to be able to get ready for an election. That too failed. We're very happy about that. Another bill that they tried to do is that the Attorney General's office had created a gang unit. And one of the bills that they tried to pass was that if they did any cases, we would have to pay them back for whatever their expenses were. Now, the governor was actually against that bill, as well as the AG, because that would have been double dipping. They already get money to do their work. And so that died very quickly in the session. But it just shows how much they were trying to interfere with our discretion because they don't like the decisions that they're making, that we are making, right? They don't like the fact that I say, I have limited resources. I'm going to focus on serious crime. I'm not going to focus on possession of marijuana. And it really is sort of ironic when you think that they're passing laws to give licenses to companies in Georgia to produce hemp, right? And medical cannabis. And yet they are upset that I will not prosecute someone for simple possession of marijuana. We have so many people in Georgia jails right now for simple possession. When we have state senators, one of my state senators, Frank Ginn, actually owns interest in one of these medical cannabis companies. So, talk about hypocritical that we are, right? But they are using these things to say that I am derelict in my duty. They are going after myself. They're going after Fani Willis for the possible indictment of Trump. They're going after Shalina Jones in Savannah, after Anita Howard in Macon, Dahlia Racine in Douglasville, and Sherry Boston in Stone Mountain. Why? Because one, we're women of color. Two, we were all, except for Sherry, every other one of us was elected in 2020, part of this progressive wave that came in. And three, we are doing exactly what we said we would do on our campaign platform, that we were going to end the school to prison pipeline, that we were not going to prosecute for simple possession, that we would not prosecute for women having their reproductive rights serviced. And these are things that threaten their philosophy, their way of what the justice system should be, of being tough on crime. And, at the very beginning, Governor Kemp had made it very clear that criminal justice reform was not going to be a priority for him the way that it was with former Governor Nathan Deal, and we've seen that over and over again. So that's the bill. That's the danger of it when it comes through. The other thing is that the bill does not outline what it means to be derelict of duty. It does not outline the rules of the committee. It does not even outline the specific qualifications for the committee members. There is still so much that has not been defined. However, what has been defined is that they will start accepting complaints in October of this year, even though they don't have any mechanisms laid out all people need is an affidavit to complain. We don't even know if people can complain about DAs in other circuits. We have no idea, right, what the rules are for this. But we do know that they want those complaints to start in October. Why? Because there's elections next year. And all the women of color, DAs who were elected in 2020, are up on the ballot again next year. And so they want to have this kind of ammunition, just like the lawsuit of the writ of mandamus against me. It's not about getting me found guilty, because a writ basically is to tell an elected official to do something, right? And if you've had a chance to read their writ, it just says for me to do my job, but the way they want me to do it. And that's not what a writ is for. I have some very good attorneys working on this. You know, I've been very blessed in that way. And they're taking care, they're trying to quash the whole thing. If you've read the news, you'll see it out there as well, what they're trying to do in that. But we are inundated in my office. I get 2 open records requests every day from this law firm, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. I'm up to 31 at this point. One of them, we do searches for what they want. One of them came back with 54,000 emails. Each of those emails have to be reviewed and redacted before they're handed over. So you can imagine how much time that is taken where we do not have time to do. I've been able to hire 3 new ADAs, very excited about it. I have a new chief ADA. We've got some more people coming in. As you've known, I have been severely understaffed for a very long time because we're not competitive in salary. And so I've been working with my manager and commission, fighting with them to get more money. And we're getting, you know, we're getting some of that in. But it is, it's been very interesting, because I will tell you that when I won the election, I thought, okay, I won it. They're going to leave me in peace. They're going to let me do my job. And it has ramped up. And now it has gotten really nasty. I had a listening session in end of February, beginning of March. I can't even remember now. But they were organized, and there was a group of them who went there, and they were shouting at me and heckling me and saying all sorts of things. And it was the first time that many of my supporters had seen what I was up against. You know, I have had death threats. I had somebody break into my house. I have had them key my car at the courthouse. But, you know, what I've always said is that you know the strength of your power by the size of the weapons that your enemy uses against you. And so I am committed to seeing this through. And I am committed to doing the work that my community has elected me to do, but I cannot do it alone, which is another reason why I'm starting, you know, to get ready for my reelection. I have been asked numerous times to resign by many different people from both parties, because they see me as someone who is very outspoken and out there and a troublemaker. Because before I started talking about all these things, DAs were sort of left alone. And, you know, what I tell my community all the time, I rather take the hits if it means that I'm doing the job that they elected me to do. So I need support. I'm going to put in the Act Blue link so that we can start building up that chest for the reelection. Before you know it, it's going to be here. I have done no fundraising for the campaign in these 3 years, focusing, and I thought I was going to have more time to focus on the work, but with the lawsuit and this legislation that has just passed, I have to start earlier than I expected to. But I see here, how do you support me personally? I love cards. If you want to send a card to me, that's great. Those, I put them up in my office. But those words of encouragement mean a lot, because it does get very difficult to face this every day. And also my team, because as people have left, they are also under attack. This law firm has sent every single one of the people who work for me a preservation letter threatening them. They have threatened one of my interns from law school. So I have no interns anymore because they were all scared and they were scared away. And it's been really sad in that way that students that were having such a great experience in terms of a new way of justice now will not have that opportunity because of what these individuals are doing. So, thanks, sending thank you cards to my office people is a really big thing and would make a difference to them. They like to know that they're doing the work for the community and that people recognize that and are appreciative with that for doing that. So I'm open to any questions. I've tried to answer questions as I've read them there, but if there's any other one, and I can give you the address too, okay? Any questions?
Deborah, I think people have put them in, and if you have other
Okay.
questions and you put them in the chat during this meeting, I can also pass them along to DA Gonzalez. And but thank you so much for the information that you've given us today and for talking about the tremendous work that you're doing. I think it's important when DA Gonzalez talks about letting her staff also know that we support them. It is important because when you are receiving threats about litigation and death threats, to have that counterbalance with people who say, please keep at it. This matters to us. This matters to society. That makes a difference.
Yeah, and let me answer Tara, because Tara, you're very right. It's happening across the country. You saw Chesa Boudin get recalled in San Francisco. There are recalls happening right now against 3 progressive DAs in Virginia. You had Andrew Warren dismissed, right? Removed from office in Florida by DeSantis. You saw what happened in Tennessee, right? When they stripped those 2 representatives. And we're seeing that this, they can't beat us in the elections, right? They can't beat us. So they're trying to change the rules and finding ways to remove people who have been duly elected. And this is really dangerous, and I think what happened in Tennessee really backfired, right? So it's causing people in other states to sort of say, oh, wait a minute. But if you just think about what if it had worked?
Amen.
What would have happened if it had worked? It would have set up a precedent for other Republican controlled states. This is the way we can get Democrats out, right? This is really dangerous. So what happened in Tennessee is really, really important. And the fact that they were able to be reinstated. Now, those 2 guys still face a special election, right? So we have to make sure that we support them. We have to make sure that we share their story. But what Republicans actually did was make them martyrs, right? Made them stars and aces right now. And it's a rallying call. It should be a wake-up call for Democrats to say, hey, these Republicans, they don't care. They will do whatever they need to do to stay in power. And you've seen how far they will go.
Yep, that's a great note to end this on. Our democracy does hang in the balance. So thank you for putting that in a larger context. Becky Butler? No? Okay. PJ, um,
Yes.
I think I'm turning it back to you.
Okay. Deborah, okay, thank you so much, Deborah. I've learned so much today, and I applaud you because not on the scale that you are right now, but I have been in the same position as far as having an opinion or that was contrary to the 1%, and they are relentless. Okay. But now I don't know where you are on the faith chart and all that kind of stuff, but I always feel when I'm out there, Deborah, I got me a God. So you can bring it on. Okay. Bring it on. So
That's right.
I
And
applaud you. I applaud you.
I think all of us at Necessary Trouble are deeply appreciative. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah, we really do. Thank you so much. And thank you, Robin. Um, and thank you, let's see. Yeah, Robin, you introduced her. Okay, I'm good. Now I would like to turn it over to another troubler. Miss Aquaria, are you there?
I am. How are you?
I am fine. I saw your beautiful face earlier. Okay. You're going to introduce Representative Imani Barnes.
I am. I am. Hi,
Okay.
everyone. So today we have our dear friend coming to speak to us, Representative Georgia State Imani Barnes. She is a lifetime DeKalb County resident and a single mom to the world's cutest, so she says, son, but I think he would say the most handsome. As a professional biomedical research scientist for the past 20 plus years, she has set the General Assembly, I dare say, on fire this legislative session. Just like her platform, Imani has delivered as promised. Representation matters. She did not keep quiet. She represented those that she has represented those as promised and not keeping quiet for the too often silent minority, for the Black and Brown community, and for the LGBTQ community. And as for the bold leadership, well, Imani did not disappoint. Her experience and scientific expertise elevated the stale thoughts to many legislations, and dare I say, our career legislators. And because of her experience in the public health, she introduced legislation that spoke to the quality of life issues, which I'm going to allow Representative Barnes to share in detail. Representative Barnes is one of the few politicians who has kept her promises from the campaign trail after getting elected. Though I am personally not a constituent, but for those of you that are, you are so fortunate to have a champion other people who will continue to approach the new challenges through equity lenses. Now, without further ado, I introduce to you our friend, Representative Imani Barnes.
Hello, everyone. Wow, what an awesome introduction. I appreciate that. My son is in the car right now, and he was like laughing at your comment about him being the cutest, and he's like, I'm too old to be cute. But I appreciate the introduction. We are heading back from hiking at up in Cobb, so we appreciate it. We had planned to be back, but it was a lot of traffic, so I will speak to you while I'm driving. Once again, I would like to thank the Troublers. As always, they've been with me since the Tucker race and are still sticking with me now, and I could not do the awesome job in the legislature this session without the Troublers sticking by my side. It was an awesome experience. It was tiring. It was also a learning experience. I had to observe, but I had to also speak up, even when I was nervous, even when I was still learning the ropes. It was imperative to speak up because we only had 40 days. And I tell everybody those 40 days, within those 40 days, each day seemed like a week for me. I not only worked in the legislature, but also I had to work my full-time job to maintain. And that's really hard. So it was really early mornings, work at Emory, leave Emory by 9 to get to the Capitol by 10, and start session at 10. And session was unpredictable. So some days we were in and out by noon, other days we were in all the way until after midnight. So it took a lot of long days. It took a lot of coffee and just understanding from the people in my it just took a lot of understanding and help from the village and my circle. So some of my goals this session were to draft a bill for free school lunch for all students in the state. I was able to accomplish that. I started before I was sworn in, so started last year around the end of the year when I knew I was going to be elected. So I started drafting that bill as soon as I was voted in. And upon the first day of session, I was able to drop that bill and get the bill put in my name. So that bill is called the Healthy Start HB 510, and it would have provided free school lunch to all students in the state. So I say that to say that although HB 510 did not pass, the money that I needed to pay for HB 510 was allotted in our budget. So I got a money line item as a freshman legislature, which is very rare. I don't know if it has happened before from what I'm being told, but we got $6.3 million in the budget to feed the children that receive free lunch and to feed the students, all the students in the state that qualify for reduced lunch. So that totaled to about 70,000 children that will be fed for free, breakfast and lunch starting July 1st. So that's huge. And I appreciate everyone on this call who has helped me accomplish that goal. We also introduced legislation for Medicaid expansion to support lymphedema coverage under Medicaid. That did not cross either, but all of my bills are still alive until next session where we can reintroduce them. So I will provide updates on all the other bills that did cross, whether they were good, bad, or ugly. Pat Bird is working with me on my newsletter, and Rod, and I really appreciate their diligence in getting that newsletter out every month. We were trying to do it every 2 weeks, but it takes a lot of information to build that newsletter. So right now we're drafting up my whole legislative update, and we'll get that out within the next week or so. And then you'll be able to follow everything I worked on. I know I don't have time on this call to talk about everything I worked on, but if you can sign up for my newsletter, hopefully, Pat, can you put that link in the chat, please? And sign up for the newsletter, and then you can read in detail about all the bills that went across our desk. We'll have links to those bills. You can go delve in and go deeper into them, or you could just read the summaries, but it's really good information. And all I ask is I appreciate everyone's support. Like, I really appreciate everyone's support thus far. I am working in the community now. Yesterday, we cleaned up Tucker Park, Park and Tucker, cleared the invasive species in preparation for the path the trail that's going through Tucker. And there was also a Spring Fest. So I'm still very involved. I'm very busy. It seems like it's an event 2 or 3 times a week. So I am still in the community. If I have constituents on this call that would like me to come speak to your community, I can come do that as well. And I will be starting meet and greets with me at a coffee shop in Clarkston at the Refugee Coffee soon. And those details will be in the newsletter as well. So once again, I know that was a lot, but I appreciate everybody. We are still collecting donations as I have to keep up the website, newsletter, and continue to pay my staff. So if you're able to donate in any way, I will be very appreciative of that. That's also on my website. And once again, thank you, Necessary Troublers. If y'all have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you so much, Representative Barnes. There was one question, I think you kind of highlighted that you mentioned some coffees that are going to be happening. It's going to highlight in your newsletter. But Becky asked a question about, do you know, are there any other specifics that's going to happen between now and this session? Anything else that's happening?
Or
Or
for
any
me,
type of, go ahead, I'm sorry.
is there anything happening with me in particular, like events or?
Yes, or let me just elaborate a little bit more. Can you talk a little bit about your impressions regarding collaborations or the lack thereof during the sessions? Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So it was a lot of networking to get that 6.3 million in the budget. As we all know, we are not in control as Democrats, but the Republicans are in control. And so my method of doing it without giving away all the secrets is pretty much just going straight to the horse's mouth, like going straight to the chair of the committees that will be pushing my bill, or going straight to the chairman of the committee that will be paying for my bill, or like the appropriations chair. So going straight to the person that really made the decisions that on my bill, and asking them direct questions like what do I have to do to get this bill crossed, or what do I have to do to find more information on how much this will cost our state. And so just understanding that, yes, we are on both sides of the aisle, but we're also human. And so you can't be scared to go talk. You can't be scared to network. You can't be scared to ask questions, because if you don't ask the questions, then you'll never know the answer. And so that's how I navigated this. And also talking a lot with my leadership, not wanting to overstep the boundaries with my leadership, and learning how to respect those boundaries while also making what I needed to happen. So it was a learning lesson, just being observant, asking questions, and not being afraid.
All right, thank you so much. Were there any other questions anybody had? Oh, one other question. What was the experience process like of defeating the school voucher bill?
Somehow my picture got put on the front of the defeating the school voucher bill. But if anybody has seen that picture, that's exactly how we felt. Like that was a lot of hard work. So you're pretty much playing chess, like really going over to the Republican, like, look, you know that if y'all pass this bill would take $6,500 per student from the public school system. If every parent wanted to pull their child out of the public school system to take the opportunity to use these vouchers, there will be nothing left for public schools in DeKalb, well, not DeKalb County, in the state to thrive. And so we had to continually push that. We had to reach the Republicans whose wives were teachers. We had to really ask constituents to write in and call your representative to tell them how this could be detrimental to your community. And so everyone that's on this call, we pay attention to those emails, we pay attention to those calls, and it's important and imperative that we continue to reach out to your representatives to let them know how you feel about issues. Because I can tell you they were flooded on the SB 140. Unfortunately, that bill still passed. But we also flooded them about that school voucher bill, and that just proves that actually working together does work sometimes. And so when you get my newsletter and you see some of the good, the bad, the ugly bills, let's be appreciative of those good bills, because we fought very, very hard to kill that voucher bill, like hours and hours and hours. And it's just, it's a lot of work, and we made it happen. And so when you see that picture, feel that picture, because that's how we felt as a caucus.
Well, if there are no other questions, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your hard work and for just you being very strategic, I would say, as a leader going in as a first year and then getting the things accomplished is just so remarkable. And the things that you're going to do moving forward, as I meant what I said as a person who has been in the trenches. All of us here has been in the trenches, such as yourself. You know, you are definitely a force. You know, everything in your platform says you have exemplified your first year, and it's just only the beginning. And so we're here to continue to just help fortify you and lift you up and carry you forth. And so just know that even as you're getting tired, that you still have strength here so that you can lean on us and stand on these shoulders, as you said, is why you ran. And that you and we appreciate you being a champion for the people. And thank you so much again for all of your hard work. And we're here to help carry you forth as you continue to fight in the lens of equity and for the people and for the marginalized communities and for the silent minority. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to thank Aquaria and Imani. I'm so proud of you. I don't know what to do. Okay. I really, really am. I mean, you came in, girlfriend, and you working. Okay. That's an anomaly. You're working. Okay. So keep it up. We're with you 100%. Other than that, I can't beat what Aquaria just said. Now, let's move on. And at this point, I want to ask Becky if she will introduce and moderate the Troubler updates.
Thank you, PJ. And let me just say, I am so moved by hearing those, both D.A. Gonzalez and Imani Barnes, and so proud of who they are, and so grateful for the goodness of spirit and the authenticity and the generosity of heart and the deep wisdom in both of them. It just, our side is good, it's just deeply, deeply and profoundly good. And it is just extremely moving. And before we do the Troubler updates, I want to share my screen and show you, just to pause. We had the picture on very briefly earlier, the picture that ended up in all these national newspapers about the defeating the school voucher bill, and you will see our Imani in it. So this is the really, just a really beautiful photograph when the bill was defeated, and you can see Rua Roman in the foreground and Imani just hooping and hollering right behind her.
And sorry to interrupt you, Becky. Look in the far right. That is a hardcore Republican. He's the one who introduced SB 202 next to Rua, and look at his face and look at our faces.
That's right.
Tells you how we knocked that bill down.
That is so fantastic. That is so fantastic. And I kept seeing this was in the U.S. News and World Report. It was all over the place, and it was just, it feels like it is so, it's so important to celebrate those victories. So, Imani, you are the bomb. Thank you so much for your service and your leadership and all of who you are. So, we're going to shift gears and talk a little bit about the Troubler updates. In fact, let me start. The first update that we were going to do feels like it is so relevant, especially given what DA Deborah Gonzalez talked about, which is the Troubler bus trip to Montgomery. If anybody has not seen this yet, Necessary Trouble on April 30th will be having a bus tour and trip to Montgomery to see the Legacy Museum and the Peace and Justice Memorial. And if there is any profound recognition and education related to the history of incarceration in this country and the way it grows immediately out of and directly out of the history of enslavement, That's the trip. It's going to be led by two extraordinary people, Charles Elfin, who has a deep history in the civil rights movement himself, and our own troubler, Ted Golden, both of whom are very involved in the King Center. It will be a couple of us have been on a trip with these folks before, and it is so moving because every moment that you are on the bus is none of that is wasted. There is conversation and education and videos and processing and deep sharing of a lot of the history. And we have 8 seats left. And so we stalled on offering these groups until we just could have this meeting. So if anybody has not already signed up and would like to hold one of those seats, it's April. Oh, Jane Seward and RJ Barry, 2 seats, done. We have 6 seats left. Thank you, RJ and Jane. And Patty Gregory, we have 5. We could auction these suckers off. We have 5 seats left.
Becky, did you see Jane's hand?
Already going, and you want to bring somebody. And Gareth is taking 2. We only have 3 seats left. This is really fun. Okay, we have 3 seats left. If anybody wants to bring somebody, they don't have to be troublers. You can bring, family or friends. So if you, and if
Becky,
anybody
Michael
wants,
and Lynn Beach just signed up too. So.
oh, we just filled the bus. Do I love troublers or what? Hot damn, excuse my language. We are going to have a really extraordinary day. I'm so looking forward to being on the bus with everyone. It is really profound. So grateful. And I'm so grateful to have filled. I'm so grateful to y'all for up and not letting one single seat go. I'm going to turn this over to Pam Woodley. Pam, would you talk a little bit about the National Indivisible and the funding match this month?
Yes, we just wanted everyone to know that we do get a lot of financial support from National Indivisible. We don't use a lot of their resources that they provide because we don't need them. We've got such a large and talented group, but I know they do a lot of stuff for smaller groups. So they are providing $1,000 to fund the necessary, the Montgomery trip, which, greatly reduced the cost of us all to go, because we do have to pay for the bus and the tickets, which were only $5, by the way, but the bus was, a fair amount. And also, they periodically have matches that we have asked you guys to donate to, and they are having one in the month of April. However, we met it through just the donations for the Montgomery trip. And I did explain to them that those aren't really donations, that we're using them for a trip, but they said that's fine, they count. So we will get a $500 match in April as well. So we just wanted to let you all know about that.
Becky.
I think my internet is a little unstable, so I was frozen for a minute.
Okay. I think she's frozen again.
Yeah, Becky, you keep freezing.
I don't hear anything.
Can you hear us, Becky?
I hear you, PJ.
Yeah, I was trying
PJ,
to see if
maybe,
she,
maybe you and Beth should just go. I think you're next.
okay. All right, Becky,
Is
when
is
Becky,
Karen, just go with Beth and PJ. Go with
Okay.
Beth and PJ.
okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we want to talk to you. Beth Levine and myself are um, co-organizers, okay, of the Seniors Votes project. And so at this time, we're gonna kind of break it up. Beth, I want you to go first, okay, and then I'll take up the rear, okay? So
Right,
you got
thanks.
it. Okay.
Thank you, PJ, my partner in crime. Yes, I am good trouble crime. I'm just gonna go over some of the logistics and the structure of this project that PJ and I have set up. And then I'll turn it over to her because she's got field experience from in the trenches, so she can juice it up with some of her own real life experiences since she did it last year with Pam. So just as an overview, I touched on some of this last time. This is a nonpartisan effort to reach seniors in low income housing. We want to make sure that they know when and where to vote, ensure they're properly registered. They are a group that typically does vote. We want them to be able to vote, but there have been, as we know, changes from the legislature to make it harder and to adjust and make it harder for mail-in voting, which had been something I think seniors had relied on more heavily in the past. So that's kind of the reason that we're doing this work. We've set up a team for each of 3 counties, for DeKalb, Fulton, and Gwinnett. And each team there are 3 people on a team, and each team has a leader. PJ is leading our DeKalb County team, and Harlow Fisher, who's an old friend of mine and a new member in this group, is going to be leading Gwinnett. I don't know, you can wave, Harlow, if you're so inclined. And then Marianne Adams, who I think is not here today, will be leading the Fulton County group. So we actually have at this point enough volunteers for our 3 teams. However, PJ and I never want to say no. And also we know that life happens. So even though we think we're sitting golden right now, things happen in our lives, and it may be that someone in the end can't make it. We're looking to do a minimum of 1 presentation a month starting in July through October. So it's 4 months for individual presentations at different housing facilities. So that's the overview of that. And if you are interested in attending some of these, or PJ will be talking more about our actual Train the Trainer that we've scheduled. You are all welcome, and just put your information in the chat and we will follow up with you. I do, though, want to take a minute before I turn it over to PJ to say thanks to Pam Woodley. You didn't mention the money you got for this particular project, Pam, and we are very grateful through her efforts. We got another $1,000 funding from Indivisible to help cover the food associated with these events, because we know that's one of the best ways to get people to come to something, is to have food. And also PJ will talk about our Jeopardy game, but it's going to be very professional because we're now able to buy the real buzzers, so we don't have to deal with any hostilities between teams in the housing arenas that we will be in. We will know who buzzed first. So thank you, Pam, for us being able to afford those supports. And PJ, over to you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share my screen, okay? Hopefully. No, I'm not. Okay, hold up. Now, can you all see the game? Wonderful. I had this all planned out, y'all, okay? But anyway, okay, so I want to talk about, Beth just told you what we do. We're giving voter information. And Pam and I did about 3 of these last year, and they were successful. So we are trying to, this will be our pilot for 2024. Okay, we're going to do 2023. We're going to do 4, one a month between now and November or October. Okay, so that's our pilot. But as Beth was saying, we have a PowerPoint. The nuts and bolts is that you'll get with you'll identify a center. We're targeting people who don't have access to the information, and mostly seniors. Seniors do vote, but we just feel like that a lot of times they're not informed, and that's what we found when we did the ones last year, and they went well. So at this point, what I have on the screen is the Jeopardy game. We've got a PowerPoint, and so like last year, the PowerPoint covered the ballot. Then it covered the voting in person, types of elections, voting by mail, and then other miscellaneous facts, okay? So after, and the buzzers come in, y'all, because seniors get very competitive, okay? And you just have to know who answered the question first. You just have to keep it straight and who answered first. So that's where the buzzers come in. So now we'll know who actually answered the question first, and we won't have to mediate that. But as you can see, this is the really, really fun part. After you've interacted with them with the PowerPoint, now we're going to play a game and basically to see how much they've retained, but in a fun way. So at this point, we've got, if you can see the screen, you see we've got the game set up, and we've got 1, 2, 3 teams. So team 1, pick your category, and Beth?
Yes, okay, so I'm going to be team 1 to start with.
Okay, Pam, you can be team 3 if you want to, okay? All right.
So under the 2023 ballot, I'll take 400, please.
Okay. Overseas utilities and internet in Georgia.
Buzz, 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 buzz. What is the Public Service Commission?
All right. Okay, what is the Public Service Commission? Yay.
Yay.
Then we go down and we add points to team 1. So team 1's got 400 points now, okay? So now we're gonna go back. And Pam, you get to choose.
All right, I will take voting by mail for 200.
Okay.
First day,
the counties accept applications for mail-in ballots.
I don't know what it is this year, but you would have covered it in the PowerPoint. So,
right.
Beep, I'll say October 5th.
Okay.
Oh, what is 78 days before? Oh, okay.
Okay, all right. Okay. But we will have covered it. Don't worry about it. We will have covered it. It won't be a surprise. Okay. Beth.
Okay, I'll take voting in person for 300, please.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Let me add team 2.
Well, I got 0. Oh well.
There you go. I'm sorry, team 2. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. For how much?
300, please.
Okay, for 300. Okay. Vote at any open site in your county.
Beep.
Okay. All right.
What is early voting? Woohoo.
Okay. Okay, all right. That way to go, team two. Way to go, team two. All right, team three, it's your turn.
Oh, is that me again? Miscellaneous voting facts for 100.
Okay. Elections administered by this government level.
What are counties? What are counties?
Now, Pam, you one of those seniors we had last time. What is the county?
Because you know there's
Okay.
prizes
So
at stake. That's why it gets so vicious.
What's your team? Two?
I was 3 this time.
Oh, 3 this time. Okay.
Thank you,
You
poll
all are
manager
watching.
Pam
You're
Woodley.
watching me as I do this, right? Okay. All right. Now let's do one more, Beth.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll do voting by mail for 400.
Georgia driver's license number, even if expired.
Beep, beep. Oh, okay. Well, you
Go ahead.
Yeah, what ID must be sent with your mail-in ballot?
Okay, so who is that?
Well, it was you. You put it up before I even answered, but I'll take it.
Okay, all right. So you all get the gist of what we're doing here and how much fun it can really be. Okay, and at the end we add up all the scores, and the team gets to select their gifts first, and then the rest of the teams, we have consolation prizes for them to choose from, so that nobody actually goes home without anything. Okay, we don't make anybody feel left out. So in essence, this is what we're doing, and we would love, if you're interested, we're having a trainers of trainers on June. No, I'm sorry. Did we say August? No, it's June. June the 8th?
June 8th, PJ is right.
Right. Okay, I got it right here, Beth. Okay. We're having a trainer of the trainers June the 8th at from 2:30 to 4:30 at the Toco Hills Avis, AVIS, G. Williams Library, the Avis G. Williams Library in Toco Hills. So even if you have not signed up and you're just interested in finding out more, we have truly gone through this thing with a fine-tooth comb, and hopefully we've gotten every I dotted and all the T's crossed. But we're always open to suggestions, and we're open to educating these voters and letting them know what's going on, so that they can be informed when they go to the polls, instead of always voting against their own interests. So that's it, I think.
That is so fantastic. Can everybody just join me in giving Beth and PJ just like an incredible round of the prize? If we could have a prize for the most creative and innovative, this would be it. That is so fun and fantastic. PJ, do you need people to put their names in the chat if they are interested?
Yes, they can put their names in the chat, and especially if you want to come and just see if maybe you might be interested. We'll need a number. We'll need to know the exact number. So if you just want to come and see, maybe if I'm interested in this, we try to make it as less time consuming as possible, because we all got busy lives. So we've worked out everything to where it doesn't take a whole lot of time. So yes, you can put your name and stuff in the chat, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, Becky.
That is so fantastic.
PJ, I saw that Michael had suggested that we make the presentation available to everybody, and I love that. The only thing is, we're in 3 different counties, and as we know, odd years anyway, it's local and it's run by the county. So each team will actually be tailoring their specific presentation to not only their county, but when they get confirmed for which location they're going to be at, it could be in Union City, which will have different people on the ballot, versus if it was in Forest Park or some other Fulton place, or 2 different places in DeKalb. So we will have the majority of it. I'd say maybe PJ 80% would be
Yes.
generic or across the board, but it'll be tailored by each presentation team for their specific location within their county. But we're happy once we get it final to give it to Becky, I guess, who would send it out. I'm not sure how that part works.
Yeah, Becky could be our go-to, okay? But we still got Becky. I don't want to commit that something we can't do right now. And a lot of the trainer to trainers is we decided that should be in person, because there's a lot of things that you need to know, and there's a little role playing that we need to do and all of that. So it's bigger than a breadbasket for the training, and I'm not sure we have time enough between now and then to try to pull all that together on tape. So I just want to make sure we're not giving a deliverable, or you all are expecting a deliverable that we can't come up with.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you guys so much. That is just magnificent. And it looks like there are several folks who have put their names in the chat, and we'll make sure, PJ and Beth, that you get their names and email contact. A question about what time on June 8th?
It's 2:30.
2:30.
And we'll probably be done by 4.
Okay.
But technically,
4:30.
we've got the room till 4:30.
That's fantastic. Beautiful. Thank you for the leadership. Thank you for your leadership, both for your leadership in those areas. That's just magnificent. Jane Crane, you had your hand up. Was that to add something, ask something, or volunteer? You're good. You're okay. You're muted.
You're muted. You're muted.
I heard you. Thanks. No, I'm already volunteer.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. Oh,
yes,
yes.
I
Okay.
think it's
All right.
wonderful.
That's fantastic. Okay, beautiful. Thank you all so much. Next up here, give me a minute. Karen Davenport.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Becky. So I'm asking troublers to spread this information, because the DeKalb Dems are inviting anyone to this nonpartisan conversation, and it's going to be May the 4th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Manuel Maloof Auditorium. And we really, really want to reach out to people who are not quite as engaged as we are in the issues, because the information that Attorney Gonzalez shared with us, as well as Imani, as well as just the information that we share on a monthly basis in our troubler meetings, we really feel like we want to reach out and share information about background information, not only on some of the topics that are outlined, but having some of our DeKalb-led lawmakers come and speak in reference to these particular topics. What we have found is that, a lot of people, as I can say, drink the Kool-Aid and don't really know what's going on. And because of that, often vote against their own interest, or believe what some people who are not really telling the truth about what's going on in Georgia. So we're really asking that troublers share this information. It will be streamed, but it's in person. And any organizations that you belong to, again, this is nonpartisan, and we really, really, really would like to invite as many people as possible. There is a link that's given to submit questions that we will be sharing with the legislators. And we're also hoping to, once we have this event and it's televised, to have it translated. So if you speak another language, it might be able to help us. We want to translate it and put it on YouTube, because our goal here is to get out the truth to as many people as possible, so that they will, number one, understand, again, what some of the background issues are, as well as what our current lawmakers are doing about that and what we can do as advocates. Imani spoke eloquently about, fighting as hard as we can. when there are people down there who are not about helping us. And our goal here is a big effort to educate the public. So please spread this word as much as you can. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Karen. And we will also be sending this out in the follow-up. So we'll be sending out the link and a reminder about the date and meeting. Okay. Pam Woodley, can we give this back to you for an update on the Public Service Commission election?
Yes, unfortunately, nothing has really changed since we heard from these two. We're still waiting for the lawsuit to be settled about when this election will be and how it will work. The state was sued for it being racially discriminatory, how it has been structured in the past. The plaintiffs won that suit, but the state appealed, and the court heard the appeal back in December, and it's now April. And Patty Durand believes that indicates that they are going to overturn the lower court decision. And because normally if they're just going to confirm the lower court decision, that happens right away. So the only reason it could be taking this long is that they have to, write a big justification for why they're overturning it. So she believes the election is going to be back the way it always has been, where the candidates have to live in their district, but they are voted on statewide. And she also continues to believe that this will be resolved pretty quickly, and that her best guess is that the election will be a special election in September. So we're kind of in a bind because we don't really want to, go whole hog in supporting her when technically there's no election scheduled, and technically there is a chance that she and Sheila could not be the candidates. There's a chance they might have to redo the primary, or the districts would change or something. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. I know the Progressive Salon of Decatur that I'm also in has started addressing postcards. We got 1,000 addresses from Patty, and we're addressing. We're not writing the message yet, but we do have, I don't know, probably 500 cards or so addressed and stamped, ready to go, because we're pretty confident she will be a candidate at some point. What you all, I hope once we are ready to pull the trigger, you all will become involved. I mean, the PSC is so kind of unwell known. It's not really well known and about what people do and how important it is in our lives. So just simply telling all your friends and family about it and asking them to go vote. That's really the main thing we're going to be asking people to do. Really basically just forwarding an email and say, please read below how important this election is, and please go vote. So we will let you know as soon as we're ready to leap into action and help these two. Yeah, I think unless there's any questions, we can move on to the next item.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Thank you for spearheading all of this, and more to come. Jane Seward, would you make the announcement related to this?
Yes, certainly. Actually, before I go on to talk about the DeKalb Green New Deal, which is the main thing I was going to mention, the PSC, there are some meetings coming up, and we'll probably get Pat to send out an action alert. Yeah. There's their fuel docket meeting in May. They're going to try to, that was the front page news article yesterday or Friday in the AJC, about how much they will try, PSC will try to pass on, well, Georgia Power will ask PSC to pass on $2 billion in increased fuel costs onto the consumer, and that could increase our bills by $20 to $40 a month.
Exactly.
And then later in the year, they're going to ask to increase for overrun costs of Plant Vogel.
Yeah.
So there will be things to do to try to call into a Zoom meeting and to attend a meeting to oppose that fuel docket decision in May. So we'll send out something about that. I just wanted to alert everybody to something I found out about a couple of days ago called the launching of the DeKalb Green New Deal. And I'll put a link in the chat. It's going to be tomorrow evening. Ted Turner, Terry, who many of us know, used to be mayor in Clarkston. He's now a DeKalb commissioner, Super District 6. He's organizing this. It's a power-peopled organizing effort that will elevate the realities of the climate crisis and push for solutions and help enact meaningful policy solutions to protect DeKalb communities. And so the launching event is tomorrow evening, and then there's 3 consecutive evening Zoom meetings on April 18, 19, and 20. So that's all covered in the link that I'll send out. So you can attend all 4 by Zoom or go in person tomorrow, and then attend the other 3 by Zoom or pick and choose. So I think this is really important. And it's great to support Ted. He's just done some really nice things in the commission. Thanks.
That's great, Jane. Thank you so much. And thanks to all the troublers that you've heard from that have been taking leadership in these various areas. PJ, that's it for troubler updates. Do we want to go straight to the song, or do you want to talk about the next meeting first? What do you think?
Well, we could let the song be the end. I mean, all I'm going to say is that our next meeting, because of Mother's Day and all of that, it's going to be, and mark this down, May the 21st. May the 21st.
Great.
Okay. All right, Becky, you got it.
Okay. So we're going to end with a song. And for those of you who have been on the last couple of meetings, you know this is always a little bit of an emotionally fraught experience, because we never know if my internet connection and if the Zoom gods are all going to cooperate with this, but we're going to give it a try. What I also wanted to say about this particular choice of song, I was saying when we all were just first on, which is we really work very hard to walk the high road in Necessary Trouble. We really do. And sometimes, right, sometimes when we hear about what's happening with DA Deborah Gonzalez, or we see the difficulties that have come out of this legislative session, or when we see what happened in Tennessee, you just got to blow off some steam. And so this is in the spirit of really blowing off some steam. This song was written by Woody Guthrie in the 50s. And it was re-recorded by the extraordinary Rhiannon Giddens and the Resistance Revival Chorus more recently. And it's called All You Fascists Are Bound to Lose. So bear with me for a minute. Bear with me while we do this. Keep your fingers crossed, and we're going to try this.
Getting
So there it is. When Trump lost, my sister in Seattle took a boombox and her front porch and blasted that through the neighborhood. And Pat and I may be doing that this evening. So,
All right, all right.
PJ, thank you for a beautiful meeting.
Thank you, everybody. I like